Welcome back to my channel. It is your girl Sophia, and if you are new here, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button so that way you can be a part of our family. If you are new here, my name is Sophia Desmornes, and I am the author of the children's book I Know Who I Am, which is filled with positive affirmations for children and all about self-esteem building. There is a link in the description box on how you can purchase it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me in regards to the book. If you have purchased it, let me know how it has blessed you. Yes, so I Know Who I Am children's book. I wrote it. This is my baby. And feel free to purchase, support, and as I said, let me know how it has blessed you. So, as you know, on our channel, we are all about faith, family, and friendship. And in the last video that I had posted, I talked about what my inspiration for writing I Know Who I Am was. And in the video, I hinted at the fact that I have children that have had significant medical issues. And interesting for those clearly that know me, they know the issues that we have had, but for those of you who don't, pause. I am a mom of 4 boys, as I have mentioned before, and 2 out of my 4 children have had stem cell transplants for same but also different circumstances. One had a stem cell transplant back in 2017 when he was just 2 years old, and I have another child that just celebrated, well, is going to celebrate 2 years post-transplant in the upcoming week, and he had a stem cell transplant at just 1 year old. So the purpose of today's video, honestly, is to just talk about the experience with my first child and how we navigated that whole scenario. So, full disclaimer, I am a registered nurse. However, I am not a medical doctor. I am solely speaking based off of my experience and the information that was relayed unto me and how we moved forward in our journey. Just to give you a little background, I had a normal pregnancy, gave birth to my second child at 38 weeks, and there were no known issues during my pregnancy. But after getting discharged from the hospital, normal delivery, about a week later, I got a call from the pediatrician just stating that he didn't pass his newborn screen. Sometimes this happened because there wasn't enough blood and to come in to repeat the newborn screen. So I went in, and it's basically a test. They got the blood from the heel of his foot, and they have these circles that they, make sure that they get enough blood to fill in the circles. And Massachusetts is one of the many states that actually does the newborn screen, and it tests for a whole bunch of genetic disorders that may be found. We did that. And about a week later after that, she came back and said that the test was still showing that he did not pass for an immune disorder. She did not specifically say what it was, but that she was going to be referring us to Boston Children's Hospital to see an immunologist. So at that time, I was not yet a nurse. I had always worked in healthcare. I had already finished grad school, but I wasn't actually a nurse yet. And of course, what do we do when we hear something? I went on Google because I was like, if you can't tell me exactly what this is, I'm going to go look it up for myself. And when I looked it up on Google, I found out that it was called severe combined immunodeficiency disorder. So if you're familiar with the story Bubble Boy, I'm aging myself, but for those of us that have seen Bubble Boy, it's about this boy who has this condition and he has to remain in his bubble. And that's basically what SCID, the abbreviation, meant. So you can imagine at this point, I have a 2-year-old, I have a newborn, and you're telling me that he has this condition. And so I was very beside myself. I was scared. Like, Lord, what is happening? I prayed during my pregnancy. I was faithful, or at least I thought. Of course, all the questions that come up when something that you are not expecting to happen happens. You're like, Jesus, where are you? Come through. This is your platform. Do what you have to do. But that wasn't necessarily what was happening. So at about 3 to 4 weeks old, I went to go see an immunologist at Boston Children's Hospital. And at that visit, he basically said that he did not believe that Dimitri had SCID necessarily, and that, you know, we were gonna run more genetic testing and trying to figure out what to do. In the meantime, he was not to get live vaccines because due to the immune deficiency that he had, live vaccines would not be ideal for him because it would be able to promote a reaction. So he got all his other vaccines, but the live vaccines, we didn't give them at the time. And then, you know, he would just continue to be followed at Children's. He had an immunologist and a hematologist at that time. And then at about 4 months old, he got a fever. And if you have an immune deficiency disorder and your neutrophil count is low, the standard for us, the protocol for him was that if he has a fever and his neutrophil count, which is the cells that help fight white blood cells, is less than 500, then he will automatically be admitted for 48 hours. So at 4 months, he has a fever. I was actually taking him to his pediatrician and he had a fever, and she was like, Sophia, you have to go to Children's. So I am completely beside myself at this point. I'm thinking I have to drop everything and go. I don't want to have to stay at the hospital for 48 hours. And I remember, because it was Father's Day weekend, I was genuinely just completely devastated. And we spent the weekend there because his neutrophil count was less than 500 at the time. And they decided that they were going to do a bone marrow biopsy on him just to figure out the cellularity of his cells and to see what was functioning. At that time, it was very hard for me because how do you deal with that? You're in the hospital with a 4-month-old, it's Father's Day weekend, you're not really sure what's going on because you've never had to deal with a situation like this. All of this was new to me. It was very foreign. So time goes on, we are discharged and we're able to go home. And then we are told that he will need to start monthly IVIG infusions. So this is another sort of treatment that will help boost his immune cells, his IgG cells, to be able to keep him from getting sick, basically because his immune system doesn't function as well as everybody else's. So during this time, we're going to Children's once a month, and he's getting IVIG infusions that sometimes last 3 to 4 hours. As he gained weight, the infusions, didn't take as much time, but we were doing that on a monthly basis. And in addition to that, right after around the 4 months, we started Neupogen shots, and these are growth stimulating factor shots to be able to see if it could help boost his neutrophil count. My second son was on this for a couple of months, but he never really responded to the Neupogen. So after a few months, we felt like, why put him through this torture of getting shots every day when it's not working. His neutrophil count is not going up and the way that we would like it to, even when we worked on doses and increasing the dosage, but it just didn't work. So, you know, like I said, time goes by. Extremely grateful to God that any other time after that first fever, that Dimitri got a fever, anytime we would have to go to the hospital, go to the ED, have him checked out, by the grace of Jesus Christ, his neutrophil count miraculously would be higher than 500. And I would always be like, okay, God, I know that you're going to do it. I know that you're going to do it. Fast forward, he has a second bone marrow biopsy, and it shows that the cellularity of his marrow is declining, but not to the point where we're alarmed, like you have to jump in and do this now. The other factor was the fact that his CD4 count and the naive CD4 percentage was also declining. So by the time he was about to turn 2, so I want to say a month before he turned 2, we had to have the hard conversation of, hey, if his cell count drops any more than what it is right now, and he gets sick, it could be very detrimental to his life. And we need to figure out what the plan is going to be. So as a mother, you hear something like that and you're just like, well, I'm not gonna let my kid die. That's not an option. So as a family, we came up with the decision that this is the choice that we have to make. And once again, by the grace of Jesus Christ, when we were looking for donors and doing the HLA testing, my oldest, actually, who was about to be 4 at the time, was an exact match for my second child. And so, which, based off of what I've told, there's only like a 25% chance that actually happens, like 1 in every 4. So we were blessed that we didn't have to go through the bone marrow donor bank. We had a donor in our house. And although our oldest was young at the time, we did make that decision that he was going to be the donor for his brother. And we decided to move forward with the process.